I think the difference between a consultant and a business coach is a business coach gets to kick your ass. No, the difference is largely semantic. What we do in that part of the business is we take a look at your policies and procedures. Hopefully you have policies and procedures, not just for compliance, although compliance is a really big part of it. It's actually a big reason why you should hire us, but also for is this something that can actually be useful as a tool for leadership? Is there something that we can actually commit to? Because if we can't, it's worse than useless. Another piece of it is looking through financial statements and trying to find daylight areas of opportunity that the client might have missed. We all have blind spots, and this is never meant to be something that's insulting or belittling. One of our core values is to constantly find ways to look at what we do through somebody else's eyes, because a lot of times we miss it because we're so entrenched in it in the day-to-day. The other piece of it is that it's super confidential. There's always that room, in your house that you close the door when you have people over, because it's filled with shit. It's where everything that you don't know what to do with or that you're embarrassed by goes. And that's what clients are doing. They're letting us into their house and letting us see their room filled with shit. And, that's a privilege, and that's not anything that we would ever want to betray. Hopefully they know that we do marketing if our digital presence is up to date the way we tell everybody else theirs should be. No, I got into business through operations. And I put off getting into marketing for a very long time because at the time that I got into operations, if you were a girl, and I'm using that term the exact way it would have been used in the day, they didn't want you in operations. So you kind of got shoehorned into either being a house mom or being in marketing. And I didn't want to be in marketing. I wanted to be on the floor. The reason marketing became such a big part of what we do is the same reason that finance became such a big part of what we do. Because back when I was a manager, a floor manager and a GM, I found that I was good at operations and I was proud of what I could do for the club. But I was also somewhat limited because I couldn't control necessarily how to drive new business into the venue. I could make sure that every guest that showed up had a great time and do my part to make sure that they came back, but I wasn't driving. And I also really didn't have the ability to analyze without all of the financial information whether or not the things that I were doing were the right things and whether they were ultimately going to result in success. So at KMA, we really began to think of these as three separate legs of a tripod. We like the tripod analogy. We're going to use it again. But you have marketing, right? And marketing looks forward. And then you have operations, and operations looks at now. How can we maximize the guests that we have in the building at this moment? How do we maximize that guest experience? How do we maximize that spend? And then finance kind of looks back, right? You're looking at all the data that's been aggregated, and now you have to figure out what it means. What story do these numbers tell? And, where are the areas of opportunity?
Well, when we started doing some type of promotions, when ownership would allow us to do promotions, specials, something that had excitement to the club, you've got to market it. Otherwise, if a promotion falls in the forest and nobody hears it, what do you got?
I think a lot of people look at marketing the same way that they look at sales, like it's a dirty word, like it's something that's somehow inherently dishonest. But we'd like to reframe that, because for us, marketing, just like sales, is firmly grounded in pride. If you're proud of your product, if you're proud of your venue, you're going to want to talk about it, you're going to want to share it. So in today's environment, we really believe that marketing is just a form of sharing. People don't want to be sold, they want to be shared with. So When you think of back in the day, ABC, always be closing, we think of it more as always be communicating.
You just want to make sure that they have a good time, something memorable, and they're going to come back. That's all we want from these guests, is for them to come back.
BevEdge, the beverage school, happened when I designed it for a client whom I ended up not working with. And that happens a lot. It's a part of consulting. So for those of you who are thinking about being consultants, first of all, take a fucking aspirin until the urge passes. But you do spend a lot of time working on things that ultimately don't come to pass in the way that you expected them to. But what came out of it was we created this really kick-ass program. So it's been redesigned a number of times, and it's always redesigned and customized specifically for the client. There are two distinctly different versions of it. One is more for restaurants and bars, where the mixology is far more advanced, sometimes too far advanced to the detriment of guest service, and that's an entirely separate problem. And then for the gentlemen's clubs that are really just trying to figure out how to up their game. So we had such a fun time developing the beverage program, we actually ended up developing 3 different development platforms. In addition to BevEdge, we have Next Level Leadership. That is for anybody who's a leader, wants to be a leader. That's what you would commonly refer to as a manager or manager in training. And then we have MEPA Bootcamp, which is a marketing bootcamp. It stands for marketing, what does it stand for? Marketing, events, promotions, and advertisement. That could be for leadership, that could be for owner operators, that could be for anyone who's marketing specialist, that's what they do. So as we started getting all of this down, we realized they were 3 separate programs. They all deserve their own specific concentration. So we ended up with 3 programs that we're constantly updating, and they're always customized. For every client, they're customized. But at the same time, as we develop them for each client, there are certain non-negotiables, certain cultural philosophies, if you will, that we're not going to compromise. But in terms of, your specific operation, yes, we want that to be specific to your operation, like the way that your bar is set up, which hopefully we can improve, the actual policies and procedures in your manual as we discuss how to implement that, how to make that reality in Next Level Leadership. Yeah, I think that we can consider ourselves national authorities on recruiting, and we're happy to tell you how to do it. I mean, there's already so much that we've written and posted online about how to get out there and draft top talent. It's not something you can always do from the safety of your venue. And how to craft an ad that speaks to your dream candidate, not the lowest common denominator. And how to create a campaign for your candidates, just as you would for a guest. I think the other thing that we need to talk about is there is no recruiting without development and retaining. Those are, again, 3 legs of the same stool. If you don't have one, the thing falls over. That's what we're trying to say. So development is what you would think of as training, but development is different because it continues, it never really ends. And the idea of retention is that if we do the thing that nobody else wants to do, which is put all of our energy and our resources into our people before assuming that, they're not going to last, so let's not even bother. Let's do the thing that no one else is doing. And if we develop them, we're far more likely to retain them. And if we retain them, that takes pressure off the recruiting initiative. The recruiting initiative continues. It never really ends either, but it's something that's just a natural part of our business culture. It's part of what we do. We always want to meet new people.
It doesn't matter whether they walk in, they apply online, or they send you a application on Indeed. Invite all of them in. You want to talk to everyone because there's hidden gems that nobody understands.
Yeah, the reason we talk about pride a lot is because we were trying to find a way to define the culture that we were advising our clients to instill in their businesses. And, a culture of pride seemed to be a good thing. The idea was to sort of tie everything that we do, whether it's recruiting, whether it's marketing, whether it's finance even, if we could tie that all back to one thing, and that thing being pride in our venue, it would all become a lot easier. It's never easy, but we could at least make it a little easier. The way that we stumbled upon pride was interesting because when we're doing a turnaround, obviously, you can walk in and see immediately that's the thing that's missing. Sometimes even from the owner-operator standpoint, like the ceiling is caving the fuck in and nobody cares. There's no pride, there's no enthusiasm on the part of ownership. So nobody else is gonna have pride or enthusiasm in the venue.
Well, when you have pride, that comes from the culture in the company. And it just reflects in the way you work. When you are ownership, you've got to figure out the difference between somebody that's just riding your coattails because they can't go anywhere else, or if you are providing a place of business that people are proud to come to every day and enjoy coming to work.
But when we were looking at acquisitions, that's become something that at least I pay attention to when I go into a new market and there's no pride in the market. Like there's no sports team that anyone cheers for. There's nothing in the community that anyone gets involved in. Those are the hardest clubs to make work because you can't piggyback on anybody else's pride, on anything else that's going on. You really have to generate it from nothing. And, it's not impossible. Nothing is ever impossible, but it is a fucking challenge.